Eugene asked, where did the rain start beating on us? And the thing is, it didn't just start with the Ruto administration, let's be fair, right? For example, if I'm not mistaken, for example, the housing component was started in the previous regime. I did say that the housing component is actually a good thing, and we should have some type of bill to govern housing. But Eugene, you were talking about people taking paychecks home and just not being sufficient. And this is not just to Eugene; it's for everyone. But I think for somebody like Eugene, who's been in government, we haven't had living wages in Kenya. Uh, you are traveling. Government officials are traveling. There's government officials and legislators traveling for benchmarking overseas all the time. They know what living wages are in other countries. They know that goods in Kenyan supermarkets are far more expensive than in European, American, Middle Eastern, Chinese supermarkets, for example. So we don't have living wages. We don't have um, people can't afford healthcare because we don't have a national healthcare system. We don't have the ability to control our means of production. The prices of our commodities are priced by foreigners. There's no such organization such as OPEC for tea and coffee. These are really the fundamental issues that I think Gen Z have been very eloquent in expressing that, and I think Gen Z has been very clear that it is not just this administration. Yes, this administration happens to be in power. Yes, the Finance Bill 2024 is especially egregious. But by the way, for example, the seed, the bill, the very offensive bill that criminalizes seed sharing was passed, if I'm not mistaken, under Uhuru during your administration. So the rain started beating us when the political class. I don't know if there was a time they cared. I think maybe immediately after independence. I think Kenya had a bit of a honeymoon for just over a decade. But even in that decade, there were political assassinations that Kenyans still harken back to. But the rain started beating us when Kenyan politicians didn't care about that average man, woman, and child who cannot take a sufficient paycheck home. Eugene, you acknowledge that this didn't just start in this administration, correct?
I do acknowledge that, and the housing levy actually was part of the Big Four agenda. Housing was a key pillar, and indeed, when that matter came up, there was a serious pushback. There was even legal challenge to it, and the issue was, well, it's a good idea, and it's something that is transformative, but it should be voluntary. I think that is one thing that was pushed, and as a government that will listen, we backed down on it. The only difference between us and the current administration is that they're very obstinate, they're very arrogant, they don't want to listen, and they would say, it's either our way or the highway. Na mutalipa ushuru wa nyumba mpende msipende. I think it's that attitude that is so oppressive to many Kenyans who will not be beneficiaries. First of all, there's no clear way how they're going to get these houses. There are all sorts of issues. So I agree with you that it's a challenge that has been there. The difference is how we addressed it. When you listen, you back down, you make changes. You can, like I said, a stitch in time can save 9. Had they listened last year to 90% of Kenyans who said no to this oppressive bill, we would not have lost the 75 lives we did. They wouldn't have actually brought another finance bill 2024 that was worse, and we've lost, now we're talking of 60 lives. We're being told over 50 bodies in the city mortuary. Many still have bullet wounds, meaning these numbers could go to over 100. We go beyond the 75 of last year. I mean, was it worth it? Were over some bad piece of legislation that Kenyans had said no to, but we imposed? I think these are some of the things that we must hold responsible, those who bear the greatest responsibility. Thank you.